tarde. Somos poucos, mas vamos iniciar a sessão. Eu vou mudar para inglês. I will change to English because we have with us Marcelo Marchetti, that is Italian. He is a cloud solution architect at Microsoft, and he will share with us how developing mixed reality applications. Marcelo, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. This is the last session today, so thank you to be here. Only the brave, right? And yes, as she said, I'm working in Microsoft as a cloud solution architect. I have a background as a game developer. And I would like to show you how to build a beautiful mixed reality application leveraging what we have to offer. So the mixed reality toolkit and the Azure services that you can use to implement, for example, speech or image recognition, etc. I will go quickly on the deck because I have some code to show and I prefer to spend more time in demo. And what is reality? Mixed reality is the whole spectrum that we have between the physical world and the virtual world. And the mixed reality platform covers the whole spectrum. So you can develop application for smartphone, tablet, for the augmented reality part, for HoloLens for sure, which is the first really real mixed reality device, and then for the virtual reality headset as well. To do that, we have, probably you already heard about the intelligent cloud and intelligent edge. When we talk about intelligent cloud, we talk about Azure and the huge ecosystem of services that we can provide to support you develop an application in the cloud. And there are a lot of services that you can use. But I would like to focus on specific services that are perfectly fitting the mixed realities world, which are the cognitive services. So we have a set of APIs that you can leverage in order to make computer vision stuff, speech, language, translation, knowledge, etc. And now we have recently released a bunch of services specifically built for mixed reality, which are the Azure Digital Twins, Azure Spatial Anchor, and Azure Remote Rendering. Those services are specifically built, as I said, for mixed reality. The first one and the most important for us as a developer is Azure Spatial Anchor. Spatial Anchor is a service that allows you to store and share word anchor, spatial anchors in the cloud between across different platforms. So you can the anchor is a specific point in the real world, in the space that can be anchored to the real world and then shared to other devices. So I can put an hologram, for example, on those chairs, and then I can create this point with HoloLens and share to iOS or Android as well, because Azure Spatial Anchor is able to translate the data across the platform. And so you can implement shared experience in HoloLens and other devices. Another super interesting service, which is now in preview, is Azure Remote Rendering, which solves a huge problem that we have when we use a mobile device, because HoloLens actually is a sort of mobile device. It's a holographic computer that I can wear on my head, but still to be a mobile device. So we don't have a lot of computational power in order to render huge 3D model in HoloLens. So with this service, you can render super complex models in the cloud and stream the render to the device. So you can render in HoloLens models with 100 millions of polygons, for example. And you can not just see it, but you can interact with that, with them. And the last one is Azure Digital Twins, which is a service that allows you to bring together data, devices, people, and location, so in order to manage IoT data, for example, in large facilities, so you can contextualize data exactly when the user needs it. Let's quick introduction to HoloLens 2 device. The audio? HoloLens 2 is a new generation device built on top of our experience that we had on the first version. And we did a lot of improvement of this new version of device. It's more comfortable. In HoloLens 2, we focused on three particular aspects that we need to improve. And one of is for sure the immersion. So in the HoloLens 2, we have more than double size the field of view, which is the first feedback we had from customer and people that use HoloLens 1. The second one is ergonomics. So now HoloLens is very comfortable and fit every kind of head. And time to value. So we have a lot of first-party application and third-party application. And now I would like to show you how to build application in order to be the next, the new value that you can bring on this platform. You can choose the tools that you prefer. So today I will show you how to develop application with Unity 3D, but we support it with the Mixed Reality Toolkit, which is an open source toolkit on GitHub and maintained by Microsoft and the community as well. But we also support the Unreal Engine and OpenXR, so you can build cross-platform application leveraging Mixed Reality Toolkit and deploy on AR device that support AR Core or ARKit as well. The Mixed Reality Toolkit, vNext edition, is a completely redesigned toolkit and built using an approach by systems. So you can enable, disable different systems, and you are free to configure everything you need. And the toolkit as well provide you the way to manage the input, give you the UI elements that you can use in order to build a super cool UI interaction, and all the stuff you need to implement the new feature of HoloLens 2. For example, the fully hand tracking, and the eye tracking, and of course the voice command. So I will show you shortly. Okay, let's start with our demo. The first thing we need to do is to download and import in a new Unity 3D project. So to go more quickly, I already imported the toolkit in this project because it takes some minutes and we have a few time. So if you go to the Mixed Reality Toolkit webpage on GitHub, the short link is aka.ms/mrtk. On the releases, you can download the Unity packages. There are different Unity packages. The most important is the foundation one,
so it's mandatory because it's the foundation of the toolkit, but you have also the tools, example, and extension packages that give you, for example, a lot of sample scene in which you can see all the different interaction and feature that HoloLens has, and you can bring something from that and put it in your own project. So it's very useful. Okay, when you want to develop for HoloLens, you have to set up the project, and there are many things that you have to do in order to set up correctly for the performances and to enable XR, etc. But the Holo toolkit, the mixed reality toolkit, simplify the way to do that. So you have just to go to the mixed reality toolkit menu, utilities, and configure Unity project. This applies some settings that allows you to be up and running in a few seconds. So you don't have to remind what are the settings you have to apply. So I have just to apply to my project, and the toolkit set up everything for me. So as I told, HoloLens is a mixed reality, is a holographic computer powered by Windows 10. So which means that the application that runs on HoloLens are UWP application. So we have to set up Unity in order to build for the Universal Windows platform. I can switch the platform. And it takes just a few seconds. Okay, and the last things we have to do in player settings, we have to enable XR and add the mixed reality platform plugin. Just a moment. Go, go, go. When the PC feels that you are in a hurry, come on. Okay. So I have to do in the player set, no, not yet. Please. Sorry? Okay, we'll show you another project in the meantime. Sorry, I'm joking. Okay, in the player settings, the last things I have to do, in the XR settings, I have to enable virtual reality support and add the Windows Mixed Reality SDK. So in that way, I'm fully ready to start my development. It should not take a lot of time again. Okay, as I told you, Mixed Reality Toolkit is based on profiling. So we have different profiles that we can clone, because by default, each profile is read-only. So you can test different way, different configuration, cloning your profile, and every time you want to come back to the previous version, you can do it. You can test the different environment settings without lost your work. Okay, I add the OpenScene to the project. That's it. We are ready. Okay, the last things I have to do is to set up the scene itself. So as you can see, is an empty scene with the main camera and directional light. Through the Mixed Reality Toolkit menu, I can click on Add to Scene and Configure. And this action, hopefully, should set up my scene, putting the Mixed Reality Toolkit prefab, and I don't know why. It's a pain. Okay. So I don't have anymore the main camera, because one of the settings that I have to do is to set up a specific camera with clear color, solid color as instead of the skybox and blah, blah, blah. So what I want to show you is the Mixed Reality Toolkit. The Mixed Reality Toolkit prefab. And here I can configure everything about camera, about input system, boundary, teleport, spatial awareness, etc. I have, by default, I have a different profile. I want to use the default HoloLens 2 configuration profile that set up the camera and other settings for me. And for example, by default, disable the teleport system and the boundary system. As you can see, is unchecked. Why? Because if I want to develop an application just for HoloLens, I don't need the boundary system, so the system that alert me if I'm going through the wall in a real environment when I'm using an immersive headset, for example, all the teleportation. Okay. If I want to modify something, I just need to clone this profile and give it a name. When I clone the profile, automatically I have a new folder in my project, which is custom profiles, and here I can find all my custom profiles. Okay, thanks to those prefabs, now I have the possibility to simulate the HoloLens experience directly inside the editor. So with the right click, I can move simulate my head movement, and pushing the shift button or the space button, I can also have a fully articulate hands, the left hand and the right hand. With the space, I have the right hand. If I click the control button, I can also rotate the hand. So I can fully simulate my application inside the editor. Okay, next step, how to interact with objects, which is the most important things in the mixed reality application. So I start creating a cube. I will import an environment, because one of the cool things that in mixed reality we have is that we have the possibility to interact with the real environment. Right? So when I have HoloLens, HoloLens is able to map the environment around me, and I can make my holograms interact with the real world. When I want to simulate this kind of stuff inside the Unity, I can use a trick, because when the application runs on a mixed reality headset, everything's coming from the real world is saved on a specific layer in Unity, a specific collision layer, which is the spatial awareness layer, the layer number 31. So if I want to simulate in editor the real world, I have just to put colliders in my scene and make them and put them on the layer 31. So when this application will run on the HoloLens, instead of my 3D model, I can leverage the real world. Okay? Next, I put a 3D object, cube, at 0, 0, 0. One unit in Unity is equal to 1 meter in the real world. So this is a huge cube. I have to reduce. Okay. Now, by default, I cannot interact with this object with HoloLens. So I have to implement something, because I can grab it, but nothing happens. The Mixed Reality Toolkit gives us a lot of scripts and objects that simplify the way in which we can interact with the object in the application. So I just need to add a new component and looking for the manipulation. So we have a script called manipulation handler. Using manipulation handler, I can configure a lot of stuff about manipulation of objects. So I can choose if I want to use one or two-hand manipulation, if I want to enable far manipulation. So when the object is far away, I can interact with the array. When the object is near to me, I have a new interaction model in HoloLens 2, which is the near interaction model. So I can bring the object, I can stretch it and rotate it using my hands. And I can set up a lot of things there. But just adding this script, now I can manipulate the object. So if I bring the cube, I can move it. Okay, but if I go when my hand inside the cube, I cannot grab the object. I need another component to do that. Manipulation handler is mandatory. Without, nothing works. But I can add, for example, the near interaction grabbable. So adding near interaction grabbable, I'm adding the possibility to use the near interaction model. And look at, we didn't write a single line of code yet. And now with my hand I can grab the cube and move it and rotate it. Okay. One of the important things that we have to take care when design interaction is the feedback that we give to the user. So for example, the user needs to know that can interact with the cube and what it can do. So to do that, we have a super cool script, which is the bounding box. So I can add a new component, which is the bounding box. We have a lot of settings here. And for example, I can, I don't want to show wireframe every time. I want to not to activate on start, because if I leave activate on start, for example, it's one of the behavior I can use. The bounding box is always visible. But for example, I don't want to see. Why my computer? Okay. I prefer to use activate by proximity and pointer. Okay, just adding this script, I have the possibility to see the bounding box. Let's go. Just when my focus is on the object. And I can rotate also from with far interaction, or scale it. Okay, let's go ahead. If I want to, for example, add a voice command to my application, which is one of the most important interaction model in HoloLens, because we have hands-free interaction, so the voice is a super cool option for us. And the Mixed Reality Toolkit has a different input system. One of those is exactly the voice command. So I can add command in English, and I don't know why my PC this morning. Okay, I have to clone the input profile. Clone. Okay, and inside the input profile, I have input data provider, pointer, input action, controller, and speech. So I have to clone also the speech profile. And now I have a bunch of default keywords. For example, menu, select, toggle diagnostic, toggle profiler. I can remove that or leaving. Now I have just to add a new command. For example, spawn object, because I want to spawn this cube when during the runtime. Spawn object. So I can choose my keywords. I can choose, for example, the key code if I want to simulate using my keyboard instead of voice, for example. What's it? Okay, spawn object. Just adding this word, I have to, I have the command implemented. And now I have to define an action that will be fired when this command will be catched. So I create a new script, and I call it Game Manager, for example. Now I make my cube a prefab. I don't know why my computer this evening probably is tired. Okay. Please. Okay. I have two ways to implement voice command. One is using a script provided by Mixed Reality Toolkit, and the other one, which is a technique that we can use to implement every input system in the Mixed Reality Toolkit, is to implement interfaces in my class. So for example, if in Game Manager I had a component which called speech input handler, I can in a few clicks configure my my speech command. So inside the script, I have to create a public void function that is the handler that I want to use. I have a lot of things to show you, but time's over already. And my computer is not collaborative. Die. I'm sorry, but I don't know why. So let's show you the device, because in the meantime, the final application, you can find all the code, the demo on the GitHub. I will show you the link in a moment. I already deployed the application, the final application on the HoloLens. I hope at least the device will work. Okay. Okay. I will show you. Previously, I already built the application. So for Unity, when you want to deploy the application to the HoloLens, you have to build it, and the Unity create a new Visual Studio solution for UWP application. So you have just to set up the release configuration and build for ARM processor, because in HoloLens 2 is an ARM device. And then, okay. Works. I can deploy my application from within Visual Studio directly to the HoloLens. Okay. Just a moment. Okay. So now my application is deployed 2D HoloLens through the USB. You can do it also with Wi-Fi connection. But today is not a good day for the cable. I don't want to try with the Wi-Fi. Okay, deploy succeeded. And hopefully we should start to see the Unity logo soon. Okay. So in the application I implemented a couple of It's okay? Yeah, okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, the command I would want to show you is spawn object. With spawn object, I spawn my cube. I can interact with it with far interaction model or near interaction. So I can grab and rotate, or with two hands manipulation, I can. In the demo, you will see that I also apply the rigid body to the cube, so I apply also the physics. So when I use the far interaction, I disable the physics, so the cube stay here. But in the meantime, I am in this room. HoloLens is mapping my environment, so he knows where the floor is, for example. And if I grab the cube and launch it, it drop on the floor, because the spatial mapping is still to be doing from the device, and the environment data where it is returned to my application. Okay. How many time we have? Oh, we already super late. So I'm sorry because the demo took more time that we have, but I want to thank you again to be here. In the deck you will find all the resources you need to build application and to download all the tools that you need. The repo with the full demo is on GitHub. And thank you again. If you have some question, I'll be here again, so you can ask to me, and I can show you the code I had no time to show you during the session. Thank you again, and enjoy the day, which is finished, actually.
Any questions?
So from all the links you've shown just now,
Sorry?
from all the links that you've just shown in the last slide,
Yes.
So if I want to get started,
You have to start with the documentation. The main entry point is, the browser works, okay? The first one is akea.ms/mr. Sorry.
it's easy to memorize.
Can you project my screen? Okay. AKS/MS/MR, and in the
Docs.
documentation, you have everything you need to start. There are a lot of tutorials. For example, if you go to develop, Unity,
Okay.
getting started, core building blocks, and you have tutorials for everything. And the other important link is the Mixed Reality Toolkit homepage. So the short link is aka.ms/mrtk.
Yeah.
And from here you can jump to all the documentation on the feature areas, and you have a specific tutorial for every single feature.
Yeah.
And it's free. Unity is free. You can download it for free for personal use. And Visual Studio Community Edition is great. You can use it as well. And that's it.
Cool. Thanks.
You're welcome.